All right, let's go into a wide-legged position. And from here, we're going to move into a warrior two. So toes are turned slightly in, hips still squeeze toward one another. Turn your right foot out, bend into the right knee, reach your tailbone down, press your left hip into your right hip, squeeze your legs toward one another, and then bring your arms straight out to the sides. And one way to make warrior two more difficult is by pressing your fingers as far as you can in opposite directions. So not just pausing with the arms up, but really pressing in opposite directions, getting a stretch through the biceps. Biceps are important because they help how our shoulders function, they help with pulling motions, but we don't stretch our biceps a lot. We rarely have straight arms. So this is a great opportunity to really stretch your biceps. Keep the legs squeezing toward one another, keep pushing down through your right foot. Get some good muscle activation through your inner right thigh, through the hip, through the glute, opening up through the groin, getting that stretch through the back foot, and working on lifting your chest up here. So staying nice and upright. And if you have a mirror straight in front of you, or if you record yourself sometime, make sure that your shoulders are right on top of your hips, that you're not leaning forward, or your hips aren't in front of your torso, but they're right on top. We've got one more breath here. All right, then we're going to move into a triangle. So if you have a block, maybe placing that block or a water bottle on the inside of your right foot, pushing down through your right leg, pushing your right hip into your left hip, rolling back the left hip so it's on top of the right hip, and that's going to get a stretch through the outer hip. Roll back your left shoulder, squeeze your legs toward one another, so still with the inner thigh engagement, and then extend your left arm straight up toward the ceiling. So you've got a straight line from your right hand to your left fingertips. Pull your chest forward, even push your head forward away from your hips, and then look up at the ceiling. So make sure you're getting that twist through your neck. Now, instead of lifting your ribs up as high as you can, try to draw the ribs in. Try to draw the left rib cage in toward the midline, in toward your body, as opposed to puffing them out. And then if you don't need the block, maybe move the block away and just use your core strength to hold yourself up. So working on pulling the chest forward, making your body long, and the concept of growing in all directions works really well here. So my head is pushing forward, my left hand is pushing up, my right hand is pushing down. Give this one more breath. Really nice stretch for the inner thigh. And then back to warrior two. And from here we're going to pivot and switch sides. So moving into warrior two, opposite side. Left foot turns out. Sink into your left knee. Squeeze the legs toward one another. Reach your tailbone down. Right hip presses into the left hip. Ribs lift up away from the hips, abs tighten, tailbone reaches down. So I'm trying to lengthen my back. That's going to get a better stretch through my hips. And then really driving down through the left foot. I've got some good glute activation here. My inner thigh is working. And then the arms come straight out to the sides. Pressing my fingertips in opposite directions. Head pushing up. Breathe in. And look straight over your left middle finger. Again, fingertips are pressing in opposite directions, so I'm getting that stretch through the biceps. Legs squeeze toward one another, so I'm keeping my inner thighs active. I'm not just letting the weight sink to my knee, but trying to keep the weight in the hips as much as possible. And that's important because when we focus on keeping the weight in the hips, that provides much greater stability in the knees. So injuries that happen in the knees are very often results of a lack of hip strength or a lack of hip mobility. So if we can keep that focus on the hips, that means that when we're running, when we're lifting weights, when we're doing calisthenics, that means that we're going to use the hips more. We won't have as much issues with the knees, so less discomfort, less inflammation, less pain. One more breath here. And then grab that block again. Put that inside your left foot. Left hand to the left block. Press your left leg into your right leg. Roll back the right hip on top of the left hip and bring your right arm up. Breathing in and out of the nose. Push your head, pull your body away from your hips, and then roll back the right shoulder and look all the way up at the ceiling. Breathing in and out of the nose, just keeping it slow and controlled. And again, those inner thighs squeezing together to keep this active. You want to try and keep the weight centered in your hips here. It shouldn't be in the hand. You should be able to use your core strength to stay upright here. And if you want, take the block away for the last couple breaths. Lengthen a little bit more. Give this one more breath. And then back to a warrior two. Straighten the leg, turn it in. Bring your legs back together. Nice. All right, we're going to take a quick forward fold here. So feet about 6 inches apart. Squeeze your thighs toward one another. Lengthen your chest forward. Make sure your spine is nice and long. And look behind you. If you can't touch the ground with the hands, use the block or bend the knees. Half lift, pull your body forward, lengthen. Exhale and fold, release down. All right, and then sit back down just like you're doing a squat. Bring your arms out wide, lift up, and hands back to center. All right, we're going to move into some balancing postures. So I want you to start in a standing march hold. Balancing on your right foot, bring your left knee up to hip level. Go this way. And I want to keep my right toes facing straight forward. So make sure that you're not doing something like this when you're balancing. So try to keep the feet facing straight forward. That's going to help with your hips. So knee is up to hip level. Press the hand into the thigh and just spend a few seconds activating that hip flexor. You're probably already pretty warm from the workout, but just make sure you've got that right muscle turned on. And then from here, I want you to extend your left leg forward, press your toes toward the ceiling, press down through your feet, and bring your arms up high. Shoulders relaxed, reaching your toes toward the ceiling, using your hip strength, using the quadricep strength, using your hip strength to lift that leg. Make sure you're keeping the right leg straight, and you're not leaning back here, you're staying upright. Give this one more breath. Lots of hip activation. And then release. All right, switching sides. Balancing on your left leg now. We're going to bring the right foot up. Keep the hips squared forward. Right knee to hip level. Push down through your left foot. Right hand to the right thigh. Spend a few seconds just pushing into the right thigh, getting that hip active. Stay up nice and tall. Tailbone reaches down. And then extend your right leg forward. Keep your hips and the standing leg the same. So make sure you're not doing anything like this, but keep that leg straight. Keep the hips stacked over the ankle. Toes reach up. Reach your right thigh toward the ceiling. So really flexing the right thigh. And it'll feel different on one leg. So one leg is going to be stronger. So for me, this is my weaker leg. I'm not going to be able to get this up as high unless I try a little bit harder. Bring your arms up. That's going to help. Reach your toes back toward your shin. Stand up a little bit taller. One more breath here. Deep breath. And then set it back down. Release your arms. We're going to move into one more balancing pose. This is a standing figure 4 forward fold. It's a mouthful, but it's a really great pose that I've been using for about a month now. Grab a block. What you're going to do, start on your right leg. You're going to cross your left leg over your right thigh. Grab the top of your left foot like so. Bring your left hand to the block. Keep your right leg slightly bent. And then you're going to externally rotate the left hip. So my inner thigh is going to face up and my outer thigh faces back. And when you do this, you should feel a stretch through the outer hip. So the left hip and the glute. It's also stretching a muscle called the tensor fasciata, which is important in walking. So if you're a walker, this is a great stretch. So as we're doing this, you're going to lift your hips, pull your chest forward, and it actually helps to look forward a little bit. So you're keeping length of your spine, keeping good core engagement. And if you want, you can move the block away. You can set it down to a lower setting. It's up to you. Now also, the higher you get your leg up, the deeper that stretch is going to be. But if you have knee problems, I don't recommend going up that high with the knee. So if you have instability from MCL issues or ACL, I would not bring that foot up that high. So we're just going to hold this for a few more breaths. And the longer you hold it, it's like peeling an onion. There's just more and more muscle to open up the longer you hold it. We're also working on balance at the same time. Okay, and go ahead and release and switch sides. So left leg over now, grab the left foot, open up the right thigh. So my inner thigh faces forward to start, the outer thigh faces back. I'm going to use my block here, slight bend to your left leg. Work on opening up the right hip. Avoid any tension in the knee. So if you feel like there's starting to become a pain in your knee, either reduce the depth by bringing your right foot closer to the left knee, or focus more on the external rotation and don't press the knee so much. The knee is going to move, but only as a result of the hip opening up. So remember that. We're going to do about a few more breaths here. And again, just letting that hip open up. If you want to use the block, use the block. You can bring your hand down to the ground if you want. Try to keep some core engagement. Deep breathing in and out of the nose. And again, notice that the longer you hold this, the more you breathe into it, the more you relax, the more your body just starts to open up, the more the hip just wants to release. And at this point, you can relax your neck as well. Just let it hang. Last breath. All right. And then go ahead and sit down just a little bit. Stand up. Let that foot come out. Woo. Nice.
Thanks for joining me for this workout today. Make sure you subscribe. We put out lots of videos like this on a very regular basis. And to get full access to all of my workouts, my programs, tutorials, and more, head to manfulyoga.com, sign up for a 7-day trial. It's just $1. Thanks again for joining me, and I'll see you on the next video.